Welcome back to this week's edition of WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Dylan Brashier, and we're back on Monday with some more important recruiting news. Before we get into the video, let me explain a fantastic offer WeAreSC has for you guys. If you go to the WeAreSC webpage and register now using code USC1, it's $1 for the next 2 months. So make sure to register now and use code USC1, and you get $1 for the next 2 months for that subscription. You can talk to other fans, get inside information, read articles about the program, whether it's football or basketball, get all your USC information needs regarding athletics. So yeah, USC $1 for 2 months. Check it out. Scott, if you want to start it off with what you've been up to or what you've seen.
Yeah, recruiting wise, when we're not trying to figure out who the next defensive coordinator is going to be and then who's going to transfer and all that kind of stuff. I haven't been traveling, but I went to a couple of games this weekend. On Friday night, I went and saw St. John Bosco in Mater Dei for the CIF Southern Section Championship. This was a game. It's just kind of watching these two teams since Bosco shut out Mater Dei 28-0 about six, 7 weeks ago during the regular season in Trinity League play. Just kind of watching these teams play since then. It looked like it was going to be, a really, really close game was kind of the gut feeling I had. And, St. John Bosco's quarterback, Caleb Sanchez, was injured. I'm not sure, what type of injury it was with his leg, but, it was clearly, the first series you could tell it was bothering him. And he had issues throwing the ball the entire football game. But the bottom line is Mater Dei held St. John Bosco to 3 yards rushing. And I think ultimately, you can talk about the passing game and all that, but in that game, we obviously saw Marcellus Williams. We saw Kingston Viliamo-Asa, Peyton Woodyard, a couple of guys that USC recruited. But, the thing about Kingston Viliamo-Asa is, you just watch this kid play and you're watching him play his final high school football game thinking this guy could have made a big impact at USC this past season as a senior in high school. I mean, he's that good. This is a guy who's going to go on and be a big time player at Notre Dame. But Marcellus Williams, he is the one cornerback I would say from Southern California that in my mind was a must get for USC. So, you can chalk that one up. There's obviously a lot of history with his brother Max being at USC and his dad being a big USC fan. But those are the games I went to. Saw Mater Dei play. They're extremely talented. USC's hires the right defensive coordinator. USC is going to be in a really, really strong spot for a lot of big time guys coming up from Mater Dei, class of 2025 through 27. So that was the first game I went to, and Mater Dei did win 35-7.
Yeah,
yeah. So Saturday night I went and saw Mission Viejo play again. They beat Servite in their Southern Section Championship for Division II. So they're going to go on. I think they play a team from San Diego this weekend. But again, I saw Dijon Lee again. And we just talked about Marcellus Williams being that guy from Southern California that was a must get. Well, I saw the must get for the class of 2025 in Dijon Lee. This kid, he is 6'3", solid 6'3". In his length, his athleticism, this kid is, he's another guy you could put on the best receiver on any team you're going to play, and you're going to feel good about it. And I'm not sure USC's had that guy for quite a few years. I mean, we go back to maybe a Dory Jackson.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to miss some people, but we're going back to him. He was a guy you could put anywhere on the football field and feel good about him. But anyway, so I saw a couple of really good football games from the perspective of the talent that was involved with it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I think I might go see Braylon Conley this upcoming weekend, play North Shore, which is one of the top teams. Those are the Toscasita and North Shore, two of the best teams in the Houston area. So that might be where I am on Friday night.
Sounds good. Perfect.
Yep.
And then we'll move on. So USC gained a new commit in the 2024 class, and that is 4-star linebacker Desman Stephens II. He's from Michigan and a 4-star, and according to On3, he's the 24th linebacker in the cycle. Scott, at a time where we have no defensive coordinator, how big of a win is this in getting Desman Stephens?
I mean, it is a big win. This is a kid that he was a 3-star. Everybody had him ranked like 500 or something like that. I'm not sure what you're looking at as far as the rankings that he had maybe for 247 and Rivals, but we moved him up to a 4-star. He's also an All-America Bowl invitee. So this is a guy who's being recognized by a lot of people that evaluate talent as a legit, really good football player. So yeah, I mean, they're bringing these kids in. They're bringing class of 2025 guys in for games, and they're leaving saying that was the best vibe I had at USC. And I mean, this feedback's coming after UCLA, boat race to USC on Saturday. But Marshall's talked to guys, I've talked to guys, and just kind of get their feedback. Like you're at a game where USC just got crushed. They look terrible, and they're like, we really weren't there to see how USC played right now. We wanted to get a vibe for how we felt, where USC's located with the school, with Lincoln Riley, with the coaching staff. So they're still scoring high marks on that. They hire the right defensive coordinator, and things can get turned around real fast. And you can just look at UCLA for proof of that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Perfect. Well, I mean, that's good. We're resonating with future classes. Perfect. And then as of a few hours ago, our running back, redshirt freshman, Raleek Brown has entered the transfer portal. I mean, I don't know if this is a shock for you, Scott. What do you think about this?
Well, it was one of those situations to where when he decided to redshirt, this was back after week 1, I think it was. We reported to our subscribers that this was probably going to end in a transfer. So was there a point when they put him in to play against Washington and that potentially they could turn it around and maybe he could decide to stay? There was a little bit of that, but him deciding out of the transfer portal was actually expected since week 2.
Yeah. And then do you know of any potential landing spots maybe?
It could be, Oregon would be a place that I would probably, without hitting anybody up today, just based off what I've heard, Oregon will definitely be heavily in the mix, if not the favorite.
For sure. Good to know. Perfect. And we'll move on. As of last month, USC commit Deyvid Palepale was dismissed from his team over a social media post, and according to the program, we're no longer pursuing him. Scott, anything to say about that?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. I was at his commitment announcement, and I think it was July 1st is when it was, and really a neat family, a neat kid. I'm not sure what the circumstances that went down at Hempfield, but this is a guy that we're told that USC is probably not going to end up bringing him in with this class of 2024 recruiting class.
Just to reiterate, Deyvid Palepale is a 3-star defensive lineman. Perfect. And then we'll move on to just some end of season announcements. Bryan Jackson, of course, the running back commit in the 24 class, has finished his high school career with 2,383 yards, 32 touchdowns. Congrats to him. We're excited to see him next year, of course. And then Xavier Jordan finished his high school career with 2,550 receiving yards and 29 touchdowns. So again, congrats to both of them. They had insane high school careers. Perfect. And with that, Scott, wondering if you want to do a little season recap. Finished 7-5. What do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think we pretty much said it all in the last show that we did. It was just a situation to where every week was the same, and you just expected it. What we're learning is not again. This isn't shocking and earth shattering information, but it really took its toll on the players. Having that defense literally not be able to stop any team in any game. And, eventually, they got to that UCLA game, and you kind of it reflected in their play that, they had just been kind of smacked around enough that season. It was UCLA, and it's still, you got to get up for that game. But you could just tell that USC was deflated, and it progressively just got harder and harder, even for the offense to keep it together.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I feel like towards the end, like you said, the offense couldn't save us towards the back half of the games, and that's what really killed us. And I mean, no one, I think, expected 7-5 at the beginning of the season, but as we saw the season unfold, 7-5 was a very real outcome, and of course, that's what happened. Yeah. Looking forward to next year, do you think 7-5 is what we can expect next year, or will improvement next year, regression next year? What do you say?
Well, they have to go out. First of all, just changing coordinators is worth 2 victories.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Just without any personnel change, you go back and kind of play these games over again. The Washington and Utah games, specifically were games that were obviously very, very winnable. And, giving up 50 points to Cal, it was just, but that was what we're talking about. We're talking about UCLA. UCLA scores 38. They go up and drop an egg against Cal. The weeks leading up to the USC game, they were scoring 14 and 7 points in other Pac-12 matchups. And so USC was making every team, look like they were Super Bowl contenders. And so I think going into next year, they have some real issues they got to take care of with the D-line. They got to add some bigger bodies. And I do know there are some guys that are planning to enter the transfer portal on December 4th that USC can absolutely get. And then they're going to have to figure out get some linebackers in there as well, probably a safety or two. But then the second, I guess, most important part of the football program that they have to take care of after the defensive line is the offensive line. And they're probably going to lose a lot of guys to the transfer portal, guys that really haven't played a whole lot since they've been at USC. And they're just going to have to bring in some guys that are ready to play. But they have some younger guys that are also going to move up to be starters. You don't need to bring in, 5 guys, but you're probably going to have to bring in a couple more, guys that are ready to play day one on the O-line. And at the very least, bring in some guys that are going to give you some more depth. So, I think that's the one thing USC did have this past season versus the first year is they did have a little more depth, but those first 5 guys were nowhere near the caliber. It didn't play together like last year's group did.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, with going into the Big Ten, do you think that'll have any impact on the future record, or do you still think 9-3 is a possible outcome?
We don't know what the challenges are going to, what the outcome's going to be from the challenges that you face. And it's not so much, getting on an airplane and traveling 3.5 hours to get there. It's, you're talking about traveling and changing time zones, 2 time zones, 3 time zones. Just for me, just when I just travel and I'm not having to get up and play football and prepare for a game, the changing of the time zones takes its toll on you, and obviously these guys are younger and it's probably impacting them a lot less than it does an old fart like me. But at the same time, we just don't know what it's going to be like. But I do know this: you have better offenses in the Pac-12 than you're going to face collectively but you're also going to be facing bigger football teams than you're facing in the Pac-12. So you're going to have more teams that are going to be inclined to try and just run it down your throat. So you're going to have to compensate by getting bigger on both lines. I think that's probably the most important part of what we're going to have, to look for this offseason is are they adding the adequate size?
For sure. Perfect. And then let's see. If you want to close it off, if we have any kind of defensive coordinator updates in the process.
Yeah, just with the defensive coordinator stuff, we've just kind of heard that Jim Leonard was the top choice, and they were going to do whatever it took to get him. So we're just kind of like rolling. We believe it's going to be Jim Leonard until it's not him, or until we hear it's going to be somebody else. We have not been told it will be him, but we have been told that an announcement is coming likely this week. Again, likely after Tuesday. So whether that's Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, we don't know right now. We'll hopefully have an update again tomorrow. But we do think that they pretty much figured out who they're going to get. It's just a matter of announcing it now.
Perfect. Well said. Thanks again for tuning in to another edition of WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Brashier, and we'll see you next Monday. Fight on.